Putin just crossed the line, literally. For months, Russian drones kept slipping across Romania's border, sometimes straying off course, sometimes loaded with explosives. Each time, Romania held its fire. Not anymore. Now, Romania has greenlit a law to shoot Russia's drones out of the sky, and it's driving Putin mad. A smaller NATO country he once tried to intimidate is finally fighting back, and there's nothing he can do without risking a war with the entire alliance. What started as shadowy hybrid warfare just became deadly real. So how did it all unfold, and why is this quiet law sending shockwaves through Moscow? On May 19th, Pravda was one of the first outlets to report on Romania passing a new law to protect its borders. It says the country's acting president, Ilie Bolojan, has just signed a new law that gives Romania's troops unprecedented power. Now, if a Russian unmanned aerial vehicle, or UAV, enters Romania's airspace, its fighter jet pilots have permission to shoot the UAV right down. There are caveats to the law. For one, any Russian drone that enters Romania's territory has to be there illegally before it can be shot down. So Romania will likely have to put some process in place to assess where a drone comes from before it fires upon it. Bolojan also signed a law regulating how his country's military involves itself in missions and operations during peacetime, suggesting there are other checks and balances in place. The law also states that Romania will only shoot the drones down if Romania or its allied NATO military units aren't able to bring the drones under control via other means. This law has been a long time coming. Romania's parliament approved the law back in February, following multiple instances of Russian UAVs being found in Romanian airspace or near its borders. The Kyiv Independent reported on the new law at the time, even providing a small passage that indicates what Bolojan has just signed. Unmanned aircraft illegally crossing the Romanian state border and flying into national airspace without authorization may be destroyed, neutralized, or taken control of, the law states. That adds an interesting wrinkle. It gives Romania the option of disabling Russian drones and, if it sees fit, taking control of them to use in its military. Both chambers of Romania's parliament approved the law, suggesting the decision was almost unanimous before the law reached Bolojan's desk. And as Reuters notes, the law states precisely how Romania will confront any drones it feels are violating its airspace. Measures start with establishing the drone's position and identity. Romania then attempts contact. Assuming it hears nothing back, it moves on to intercept the drone and fire some warning shots. If the drone continues with its illegal activity after these shots, only then can Romania destroy it in the skies. Creating this process was a smart idea. It gives Romania a crutch to lean on if Putin tries to cause issues over the destruction of his drones. Romania can say to Russia's leader that it tried to establish contact. It even sent a warning. The actual destruction is positioned as a last resort to Russia not respecting Romania's airspace enough to let it know when it's flying drones. However, it still took a while for the law to be made official. Here's the reason why. Not everybody in Romania wants there to be a law that allows the country to shoot down Russian drones. We mentioned earlier that Romania's parliament passed the law almost unanimously. Almost is the key word here. Some small segments of the country's parliament opposed the law, leading to an extensive delay. Euractiv reported on these delays on March 4th, noting that there is a trio of extremist Romanian political parties that laid a challenge to the law down almost immediately after it passed. Those parties, named as POT, AUR, and SOS Romania, all lie on the far right of the political spectrum. They lodged an appeal days after Romania's parliament passed the new law. However, they were somewhat cowardly in doing so. None of the parties made their decision to appeal public, with the news of their involvement only coming after the appeal was lodged. Save Romania Union, or USR, which is the third largest political party in the country, had something to say about the delay. Its leader, Elena Lasconi, has this to say: "These isolationist parties are not fighting for Romania, but against it." She also lambasted the appeal for leaving Romania vulnerable at a critical moment in its history. The message was clear: these three objecting parties seem to be acting in Russia's best interests rather than Romania's interests. The members of the opposing parties themselves claimed otherwise. SOS member Dumitru Coana said that the law shouldn't be passed because Romania should not be involved with Russia. "We want to be neutral," while claiming that the new law has the potential to drag Romania into war. AUR member Dan Tănase had a different objection. He noted that Romania's new law invites allies to help it destroy Russian drones, as well as enabling Romania to use its aerial defenses. That's a problem, he claims. It could result in Romania handing over Russia's command to foreigners, says Tănase, which is another way that the country could be dragged into a war with Russia. The logic appears to be that Romania's allies are all NATO members. Putin hates NATO. By allowing those allies to fire on Russia's drones, even if they're in Romania's airspace illegally, Romania is inviting Putin. Perhaps he has a point, but it makes no difference now because Romania has officially passed the law and Putin is furious. His drones can now be shot out of the sky if they enter Romania illegally, and there's a big reason why this matters. Russia keeps on sending drones to Romania. First signs of Putin being up to no good on the Romanian border came during the summer of 2024. On July 25th, The Standard reported that a trio of Russian drones supposedly targeting Ukraine ended up straying into Romania's territory. The incident came on an evening when Russia launched 38 drones at Ukraine, with 25 of those UAVs being destroyed by Putin's enemy. Ukraine's Air Force Chief Mykola Oleshchuk confirmed the incident. Last night, the enemy used 38 Shahid 131-136 attack drones, attacking Ukrainian infrastructure in several areas, including the south of Odessa region and central Ukraine. The 3 drones The Standard reported on were lost after crossing the state border with Romania. These drones may have already been damaged before they crossed into Romania. The country's defense ministry noted that it had found fragments of a Russian Garan 1-2 drone near the village of Plauru, which is close to the Danube River, and just a small distance away from the Ukrainian territory Putin was attacking in the summer. Beyond confirming discovery of that drone debris, Romania was fairly tight-lipped at the time. NATO was a little louder. A spokesperson for the collective defense organization, of which Romania is a member, said, "While NATO has no information indicating any intentional attack by Russia against allied territory, these acts are irresponsible and potentially dangerous." NATO also confirmed that a pair of Finnish F-18 fighter jets had been scrambled to confront the drones as part of an ongoing air policing mission. Still, all signs point to this incident being a mistake on Russia's part. It intended to attack Ukraine near Romania's border, and some of its drones went off course. That's no big deal, right? Perhaps it wouldn't have been were it not for the fact that the Russian drones have repeatedly found their way to Romania since this initial incident. On September 9th, a report in The Guardian revealed that Putin was at it again. This time, Russia seemed to be targeting 2 NATO members, Romania and Latvia. Both claimed they discovered the Russian drones violating their airspace, with the one that entered Romania apparently doing so amidst a Russian nighttime strike on Ukraine. The second had crash-landed in Latvia the previous day. Again, NATO fighter jets were sent out to confront the Russian drones, with Romania deploying a pair of F-16 fighters. It also sent text alerts to the people living in 2 of its eastern regions, though there were no casualties or infrastructural damage reported. "Keep calm," the alerts said. "Take shelter in basements or in civilian protection shelters. In the absence of a shelter, stay inside the house, away from windows or exterior walls." Romania was worried. If the July incident seemed like an accident, the repeat in September was starting to look like a pattern. Several analysts started theorizing that these were no accidents at all. Instead, Russia may have been using its attacks against Ukraine as a smokescreen to hide the fact that it was purposefully sending its drones into Romanian airspace. Perhaps Putin was looking to test NATO's resolve to see how it would respond to minor incursions, perhaps in preparation for later plans to invade NATO-aligned countries like Romania and Latvia. Former Romanian Prime Minister Marcel Ciolacu seemed to suggest that this testing was a possibility, while stating that the September incident wasn't serious. He also added that he was certain that these Russian breaches of Romania's airspace will continue. He wasn't wrong. Just a month later, another report of an unidentified UAV entering Romania's airspace was lodged. Again, there was a clear pattern. On the night of October 19th, Russia launched another drone assault against Ukraine. This time, Romanian radar systems detected a Russian drone flying in its territory near the Black Sea. A similar incident had occurred just a day before, leading to both Romania and Belarus scrambling fighter jets to confront an unidentified target flying into their airspace. For Romania, that response included doubling up on its previous responses. It sent a pair of F-16s and 2 Spanish F-18s into the skies this time. However, in both cases, the unidentified objects disappeared from Romania's radars before Romania's pilots could find them. No visual contact was made with the drones, leading to speculation that the targets could have been involved in a cyber attack against Romania's defenses. Perhaps we'll never know. Still, Putin's pattern appeared to be clear at this point. On the night when Romania was once again forced to scramble fighter jets, Russia launched 98 drones and 6 missiles against Ukraine. Putin was giving himself plausible deniability. He could claim that the drones entering Romania were intended for Ukraine. It was just the 2 countries being so close together that was the problem. Making that claim once could be forgiven, but 3 times, Romania wasn't about to start believing Russia's lies. It thought these incursions were deliberate and likely part of some sort of Russian plot to destabilize its border region. However, all seemed to go quiet for a few months after the October incident. Perhaps Putin decided to switch his focus away from Romania as he committed his forces to retaking the territory Russia lost in Kursk. Or maybe Russia just got better at hiding its activities. A March 1st, 2025 report in Reuters suggests the latter was the case. On that day, Romania reported the recovery of fragments of a Russian UAV close to its border with Moldova. This time, Putin couldn't claim that the device was targeting Ukraine. Though Moldova also borders Ukraine, a drone reaching Romanian territory via Moldova would have to fly through a portion of another country to get there. Even more worrying for Romania is that this particular drone was carrying active explosives, which the country's defense ministry had to detonate on site. The ministry released a statement following the discovery saying, "The presence of an active load has been identified on board the aircraft, which will be detonated in a controlled manner on site to eliminate danger to the local population." The timing of this final incident is interesting. Romania had initially passed its law permitting itself to destroy Russian drones entering its airspace just a week before. Perhaps this March 1st drone was a warning. Putin was showing Romania that he could still enter its airspace, this time with an explosive drone, if he wanted. Maybe he's right. However, the incident likely ended up stealing Romania's resolve, giving its parliamentarians something to point toward when dealing with the appeal lodged by the three parties mentioned earlier. How could Romania not pass its law? Russia was still sending drones, despite Romania doing nothing to antagonize it. Romania had to do something about the problem. Romania's new law is the solution. Still, we come to an interesting question about this series of events. Russia is at war with Ukraine. Why then is Putin sending his drones into Romanian airspace when those drones would surely be better used to weaken Ukraine's military? There are two possible answers. The first answer is one Putin would like Romania to believe. The drones were never meant to enter Romanian territory. Their ending up in that country's airspace was simply an accident, because the drones were always meant to hit Ukraine. The excuse could almost be believable. Putin could claim any number of mistakes or issues that led to his UAVs ending up in Romania, from miscalculations at the time of launch to Ukraine's jamming and destruction of Russia's drones causing them to fly off course. But again, that excuse can only work so many times. There are at least 5 documented incidents of Russia's drones heading into Romania's airspace, with only a handful of those incidents involving drones that end up being found destroyed. The October incidents in particular are worrying because Romania wasn't able to confront the unidentified objects its radars picked up. That suggests that Russia's UAVs were precisely where they were meant to be when discovered, and made their escapes quickly once they'd been detected. That brings us to the second possible answer to the question. Russia is doing all of this on purpose as part of a hybrid warfare campaign against Romania. Romania shares a 400-mile border with Ukraine and has been an ally of Putin's enemy ever since Russia launched its invasion in February 2022. In March, Romania also announced that it would be increasing its defense spending to go along with the military aid to Ukraine. In the past, Romania has provided Ukraine with howitzers and armored personnel carriers. It's also the source of one of the Patriot missile defense systems Ukraine is currently using, along with hosting a trainer center used to prepare Ukraine's pilots for using F-16 fighter jets. Putin can't have been happy with any of these Romanian actions. However, he also couldn't attack Romania directly. It's a member of NATO, meaning a direct Russian attack on Romania's territory would trigger Article 5 of the NATO Charter. Under that article, all NATO members come to the aid of a single member that is attacked on its own territory. So Putin took another approach. Rather than attacking directly, he started using his drones to send warnings to Romania. You keep helping Ukraine, I'll show you that Russia can enter your airspace at any point I want. There's also the possibility that Russia is using its UAVs to monitor Romanian activities. Putin has plenty of history when it comes to using this sort of hybrid warfare act. For instance, January saw the German Ministry of the Interior claim that it had detected almost 100 cases of drone activity in or around German territory in 2024 alone, with 30 of those incidents involving Russian drones that were flying around US military facilities in Germany. The ministry criticized Germany's federal government for not responding adequately to the threats. For protecting airspace against espionage and sabotage, federal agencies urgently need appropriate technology for early detection and counter-drone measures. The implication was clear. Germany was dealing with hybrid warfare tactics that Putin was using to destabilize the country. Romania faces the same problem. Using his drones, Putin maintains a consistent threat against Romania. It's likely no coincidence that one of the drones Romania discovered on its land came packed with an explosive. Maybe Putin intended to use it to target a piece of Romanian infrastructure. Perhaps the explosive was never intended for use, with its mere presence being enough to serve as a warning to Romania. We also can't ignore the fact that other Russian drone incursions into Romania's territory have resulted in text alerts being sent to citizens encouraging them to find shelter. Putin is trying to terrorize a country that he believes is supporting his enemy too much. Perhaps he'd hoped that Romania would back down. That isn't going to happen. With its new law, Romania has just sent a direct message to Russia that it's willing to confront the drone threat Putin is presenting directly. It'll still send warnings first. Attempts will be made to communicate with Russia's drones and guide them away from Romania whenever they're sighted. But if those efforts fail, the fighter jets Romania and NATO have scrambled so many times in the past have a new order: fire on Russia's drones when they enter Romania. The question now is what happens if Romania exercises its new law and shoots a Russian drone down? The answer is likely very little, at least on the warfare front. Right now, Putin seems to be testing NATO's responses with his drones. He's also very aware of the fact that starting a war with Romania over the loss of his drones in Romania's airspace is a bad idea. Russia could beat Romania in a one-on-one fight, but Putin has no intention of triggering Article 5 and bringing the full wrath of NATO down upon his country. What is far more likely to happen is that Putin will try to integrate any Romanian destruction of Russian drones into his hybrid warfare strategy. He'll keep sending drones across Romania's border. As soon as one of them is shot down, he'll use the incident to fuel his anti-NATO propaganda in his own country. Putin may attempt to frame the loss of his drones as an example of the sort of NATO aggression against which he's railed for decades. Of course, he'd do that while ignoring the fact that he's sending those drones into another country's airspace illegally. For now, that's all speculation. What we know for certain is that Romania isn't going to stand for Russia's actions anymore. If Putin's drones cross the Romanian border, they'll end up being blasted out of the skies by the country's military. Do you think that's the right course of action for Romania to take against Russia's drone threat? Or do you believe that Romania risks escalating tensions with Russia to the point where its new law brings us one step closer to a full-blown war between Russia and NATO? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and remember to subscribe to the Military Show for more video commentary on the latest military developments in Europe. Now go and check out